Welcome to This Explainer. We're surrounded by a reality that's largely hidden right in plain sight. Imagine facilities so restricted, so highly classified, that even just whispering their names in certain circles is going to raise some serious eyebrows. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the absolutely chilling reality behind secret chemical facilities that you are unequivocally not allowed to enter. Okay, let's dive into this. Just picture a completely ordinary-looking science campus for a second. The brick buildings, manicured lawns, normal parking lots. It's exactly the kind of place you might drive past on your daily commute without a second thought. But inside those walls, that's where the most lethal chemicals ever conceived by human minds are being developed. We're talking about scientists spending decades doing relentless, highly secretive research dedicated to synthesizing compounds like the VX nerve agent, where literally a single microscopic drop is completely fatal. The tension between that mundane, everyday exterior and the unimaginable lethality brewing inside it's absolutely staggering. So that brings us to Section 1, Behind Ordinary Science Campuses, the Facade versus the Terrifying Reality. Moving right along to Section 2, let's take a little tour of these classified locations and explore the forbidden research sites. Right, so these locations read almost like a highly classified manifest. Places like Porton Down and Grunard Island. I mean, just saying those names out loud carries a certain heavy weight, doesn't it? These aren't just random points on a map. They're the forbidden ground zeros for some of the absolute most dangerous scientific endeavors in all of human history. Take Grunard Island, for example. It wasn't just a location that happened to house a dangerous lab inside some contained building. No. The island itself actually became the hazard. Because it was used for intensive wartime biological testing, the whole ecosystem, the dirt, the air, the whole shebang, was turned into a living weapon, literally riddled with anthrax spores. Let's speed things up a bit for Section 3, looking at the actual science of these lethal agents and the extremely fine line between survival and destruction. Now, what's really interesting about this is how these agents actually work on a mechanical level. Consider sarin. As a nerve agent, it presents an immediate mechanical threat to the human body. This isn't some illness that slowly develops over a few weeks, right? It's incredibly rapid. It disrupts the very mechanics of your nervous system instantly. It was engineered by scientists for a sudden, devastating impact, specifically designed to neutralize a target in literally the blink of an eye. But when we contrast that immediate, rapid-fire threat of a nerve agent with a completely different type of nightmare, we get the agonizing, lingering biological persistence of an agent like anthrax. We're talking about two totally different timelines of destruction here. One strikes like lightning, while the other, well, it just waits patiently, contaminating an entire area and presenting a biological threat that just absolutely refuses to fade away. Decades. Let the sheer gravity of that sink in for a second. Anthrax doesn't just dissipate when the wind blows. It forms these highly resilient spores, possessing a biological persistence that allows it to remain totally viable and incredibly dangerous in the soil for decades. The threat doesn't end just because the experiment stops. It stays locked in the earth, like a silent killer, until the area is meticulously and aggressively disinfected. And that brings us to Section 4, the toxic time capsules and their lasting legacy, which really shifts how we need to think about these places today. So the crucial point is this: forces us to completely reframe how we view these defunct secret sites. They are, quite literally, toxic time capsules. These facilities aren't just empty, abandoned relics. They are buried legacies, holding right within them the dormant, lethal potential of the past. You see, these sites actually preserve the most dangerous innovations of human warfare. They function as permanent historical monuments, but, certainly not the kind we're ever going to celebrate. Instead, they stand as silent keepers of the darker side of human innovation. They perfectly and terrifyingly preserve the exact moments in history where science was pushed to its absolute most lethal extremes. So, if places like Grunard Island and Porton Down hold these lingering threats behind completely ordinary facades, we really have to ask ourselves, what other dangerous innovations are just waiting out there in the soil of our toxic time capsules?